We're live. People, deluded. I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning in each and every time. Obviously, it's 11:30 a.m. on this Monday. Those of you in the UK, I hope you're all enjoying your bank holiday, and good morning to those of you in the UK. Obviously, if you're not in the UK, it doesn't mean I'm not wishing you happy returns. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night, depending on who you are, wherever you are in this world. Hope you're all doing well and safe. I see a decent ratio in terms of likes. Please make sure as you're entering, you're hitting the like button, people. People are free to dislike if they choose, Mickey. But like you said, bro, how about disliking it already? There's always one in it. Someone will dislike it hours before I've brought something out, people. But haters are that. It is what it is. Like I said, people are free to dislike, but when the thing hasn't even started, it's just downright hating. The problem with them and the good thing for us is that, they're a small minority and we crush them each and every time. And I know when this live stream's done, they're going to look like fools, but we move. Obviously, shameless plug. Also, once again, make sure you smash the like button. I'm pretty sure if you type in my name, you'll see hella content, people. Champions League watch along tomorrow from 7:20. Champions League on Wednesday. Unfortunately, Arsenal are not in the Champions League. We might, a year from now, we might not even be in Europe, but we've got it all to do against Villarreal on Thursday. So there's 3 watch alongs. Obviously, I've got the preview and several other things. So make sure you're hitting the like buttons and all of those things, people. I'll keep plugging it throughout. What are you guys saying? I hope you're all doing well and safe. I hope you've all, those of you in the UK, I hope you've all got your morning coffee and all those sort of things. Josh, Jay, I see you. Josh, big up yourself for being in. Omar's always here. Raz, we'll get into your comment in a second. What have you said? Big up. Jaden has said, big up DG, don't rest. Bro, no rest for the wicked, man. You have to keep going in it, and I'm so close to 35k. I think 60 more subscribers and we're there. This week I've been trying to hit it aggressively, and like I said and been saying, thank you very much for the engagement and all of these sort of things you lot are doing to drive up the YouTube algorithm to try and do what it can, people. So I appreciate all of you. Gooner boy, I appreciate that commitment, man. Said he's getting to bed now, but hitting the like button before I sleep. I'll be here when you wake up, my guy. Love for that. Carlos, love for that. Randoms here again, seeing the same old suspects, man. I hope you're all well and safe, man. Nathan has said, hope you're blessed. Hope you had a nice ginger tea before you jumped on, my guy. Nonetheless, I got my green tea, but I appreciate that, Nathan. Steve, appreciate you. This is why I keep being consistent, because the man them are always here. Obviously, the galley are here as well, but the people them are always here supporting the thing. Man are saying early morning for me, 6:30 right now in America, but your content is fantastic. I'll be here, when you're allowed to wake up and have a normal time. Go and get some rest, my guy, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the ones that are tuned in while they're at work and things. I appreciate that. So yeah, man, we ain't got too much to get through, but we've got decent little bits and pieces to get through, man. So yeah, I appreciate all of you lot. Thank you for respecting the grind. I respect the fact that you lot are here all the time, man. I appreciate you lot. Tino, it don't quite slap the same. Imitation is a great form of flattery. I know, last time I checked, I wasn't a father, but if you want to be my son and copy my thing, I appreciate that, my guy. Nonetheless, big up to as well. I won't say fresh background, but keep switching it up, man. Leave you lot with something new to look at. Right now, I'm back at the Emirates. Obviously, I was at the Sports Direct Arena and things like that. So yeah, people, man, we've got a lot to get into. I see you lot asking, what centre-half partnerships, no doubt. And if I forget, please don't let me forget, Chambers and Gabriel, could that be a centre-half partnership? David Luiz, Matt Ryan, all of these sort of things, people. There's a lot. I appreciate that, man. And you said, and your consistency breeds the same. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, man. You lot are gassing me still. Tino, it's all love, man. Tino's my guy. He's always bantering me, and I have to banter back sometimes. I'm not on this Una Emre being passive and pragmatic. I'm trying to be aggressive and meet fire with fire and things like that. I appreciate that. You know what, yeah? I was going to start off of why I feel this is the toughest week for Mikel Arteta, but I see a lot of you. I hear Matt Ryan. That's all I can see in some of the comments. So I think we should start with that, people. I'm just sorting out my notes, Carl. You lot mashed it up. Again, I had my times. In fact, let me show you lot, just so you lot can see how much you lot are messing things up. I always try to come in here with a bit of order for you guys. This is the timestamp. So while this isn't the order, but this is a kind of a rough thing I was going to go on. I actually wanted to speak about, like I said, why I think it's a tough week for Arteta, but we might as well crack on with this first and foremost really quickly. In fact, it's not even 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes in, isn't it? There's 76 of you locked in. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. Now, Matt Ryan. Now, I'm sure before we get into anything, I know when you've heard, you've seen all the pieces coming out on Football London and things like that. Go and check it for yourselves how, you know, he's speaking Spanish to a couple of the players. He's got a good relationship with Gabriel. He's doing all right. Now, do I believe Matt Ryan is a better goalkeeper than Leno? I'm going to go on record and say no. I'm not Leno's biggest fan, you know. I've been proven wrong and right on Leno. I've told you that I think that, with all due respect, when I say a man's overrated, that don't mean I don't think he's good. You know, I just think people were just gassing Leno. I think he's a good shot stopper. Even that, you know, if you're a great shot stopper and you're punching it into areas where people are scoring tap-ins, are you really? You know, I think his handling is poor. I think he's quite nervous and that spreads to the team. I think he's got an unhealthy amount of arrogance. I just think he's got too much mistakes in him. But despite all of that, on his day, let's not lie, Leno is a bad boy keeper. Leno is a better keeper than Matt Ryan. The reason why I prefer Matt Ryan right now, you know, and things can change, I prefer him on the, is it the 2nd of May? 3rd of May, apologies, people. I really should know the date. I prefer him because Matt Ryan is, you know, first and foremost, I think Leno is stagnating because there's no competition, you know. We know Runnison in hindsight was brought in people to be third choice, but even then, he's got nothing on Leno. You know, Leno with a broken hand is probably cleared than him. Leno could have both his arms amputated, and my man is going to struggle to take his place. Then obviously the one guy that was a bit of competition, you saw him leave. You know, once upon a time he had a little bit of competition with Czech, but since then he's not had no competition. Even when Martinez was here, it's been made abundantly clear, you know, Leno is the guy. And when you've got the club doubling down on you, and Leno clearly isn't short of self-confidence, it stagnates, it leads to complacency. And I think you've seen that, because normally Leno does have these mistakes in his game, but at the same time he normally patterns. And I just think, you know, he's made too many mistakes recently in that, in my opinion. I do think Leno is the better keeper, but I think Matt Ryan should have the look in, purely because I think Matt Ryan, in the opportunities he's had, looks better. I think one thing that Matt Ryan has abundantly over Leno, and Martinez had it, and I don't want to be the guy to speak about Martinez and Leno because I think that one's there is gone. I think Matt Ryan is a bit calmer with it. I think Matt Ryan is a bit like Chambers in that he knows what he can and can't do. Leno, to be fair, Matt Ryan's always off his line, but I genuinely think if you ask Leno if he wants to play centre half or centre midfield, he will do it. I just think there's an arrogance about him. I think Matt Ryan is quite humble in that regard. He knows what he can and can't do. He's always switched on, you know. I like the way he's very vocal when he talks to his teammates. Leno obviously opens his mouth, but I don't see it to the standard, you know, to the standard that Matt Ryan's doing. And I don't think Matt Ryan, like I said, crucially, Matt Ryan ain't deserved to lose his place. He made a good save, in, not that he had much to do against Newcastle. He made a good save. He was involved against Fulham. His distribution, he knows when to try these passes things and when to just kick it long. I think he's a bit more street smart, and I just think with that, you know, with that, I think Matt Ryan deserves his spot. And again, I don't care if it's a world-class player or whatever. I do think spots are earned. Leno has been moving questionable. Matt Ryan deserves a look in, really. Will he start against Villarreal in the Europa League? I wouldn't mind him to. I would like him to, but I don't see it happening. But I think Matt Ryan deserves to Matt Ryan deserves to get a look in. I don't think it's going to happen because, again, I don't know who the defensive partnership is going to be. Is Xhaka going to be at left back? Who the hell is going to play at right back? He probably will go with Leno because it will be a bit more mix and match. You know, I don't think Matt Ryan is perfect. You know, Matt Ryan loves to, you know, Matt Ryan can catch as well. And he's one thing I meant to say is he's very convincing from collecting from crosses. That's always going to be a plus point for me. You know, Matt Ryan isn't perfect. You see how quick he is to be off his line like a centre half. He's going to get caught out one time, but I like him. You know, he made that big save. You know, I think he was lucky not to be caught out one time against Wilson, but I think spots are earned. And, you know, even with Aubameyang, it's a bit different. But, you know, we dropped Aubameyang. Leno could be dropped because what are we doubling down for? You know, I shouldn't be questioning the centre as goalkeepers' degree of focus, ability to be vocal, you know, ability to give calmness at 29 years of age. I just think there's an arrogance with Leno to the point where he's saying things like, and again, he's allowed to say this, I don't know if I'm going to stay, here or not. How many of you have played football, people? You know, it don't matter how good you are. When you're in a defense at Sunday League or whatever, and your goalie's nervous, it makes you nervous. When your goalie's calm, you're calm. Now, if I'm real, Matt Ryan's sample of games hasn't been big. The level of opposition hasn't been that deep, with exception to Aston Villa, or was it Southampton? I think it was Villa where he did nothing wrong. I think Matt Ryan deserves to play the rest of the Premier League season. It calls for big, it calls for character. It calls for risk. When your back's against the wall, you have to be brave, or you revert to what you know. And by that, I don't see Arteta playing Matt Ryan, but I think Matt Ryan should start because it shakes things up. Again, Matt Ryan isn't perfect, but again, all I care about is when you get your opportunities, have you done anything? And there's question marks over Leno. Maybe dropping Leno makes him play better. Nobody's above criticism. And again, don't take this as a shot at Leno, because I like the guy. Like I said, he's proved me right and wrong. When I used to tell you, lot, I think he's suspect. I think he's this goal. You can check my tweets from 2019. But then there was a point he was playing where I was like, I hold my hands up. You're the guy right now. A part of me feels, we've been unfair to Leno in that we have not really built a decent defense for him to be part of. But at the same time, I've always said to you, look, if Arsenal was fixed in every way, the right back, centre half, midfield, whatever area you feel Arsenal needs to address to be a top 4 team and beyond that, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'd be looking at replacing Leno. I don't think Leno is of the standard. I don't think you need it. Of course, I would love a world-class keeper. All of these, Old Black, Courtois, whatever names you want to throw in there. I would love to have those keepers, but we're a long way away from getting that. For me personally, I just think we need a calm, consistent, and decent keeper, and I don't think Leno quite frankly is that right now. Last season it was Leno FC. Leno and Aubameyang were doing their thing. Aubameyang's got a lot of heat. It's like you can't criticize Leno, and I'm not trying to get at Leno. I'm just commenting on what I see. If Leno was doing his thing, it is what it is. Should have kept Emmy and sold Leno. To be fair, I would be behind that. But at the same time, people, not saying you, but people act like Martinez is perfect, bro. Whenever Martinez has a great game, everyone wants to tweet about it. When he drops clangers, nobody says anything. And for me, I've said it before, obviously, for obvious reasons, when it's a goalkeeping thing, he's going to be in conversation. But I just feel we got to allow the Martinez one. It's gone. I know some fans, myself included, we're bitter because we could have had 2 keepers fighting for the spot. Martinez is clearly bitter about how it went at Arsenal, because any other, as much as he said he's moved on, he's done this and that, he gives you the vibes of a woman or a man that isn't quite over their ex. Regardless, he's still, you can tell he's never, anytime the phone rings, whatever publication, and they're like, yeah, want to speak about Arsenal and leaving, he's there, he's on it, front page, bare paragraphs, this, that, and the other. He's hurting, It is what it is. We're all hurting, but we have to move on. For me, at 29 years of age, it's still young for a goalie, but you need to ask yourself, you've got Tierney who's 22, 23, assuming we get a right back who's mid-20s max, centre half. It probably won't be them in the short term, but you've got Gabriel and Saliba long term. Now, once again, Leno is young for a goalie per se. 29, you can play for a minute, but is Leno playing, or has Leno looked since he signed for this club to the standard where, all right, cool, if we're building this team in the name of stability and long-termism, is Leno that? Leno can be a calm number 2. Leno is a calm keeper, but I'm not convinced with him. Not everything is Leno's fault. There's been times, of course, where, we've conceded goals. It's not been his fault. Of course, there's been times where he's done a madness and we've let him down. In Leno's last appearance, he made a big save to help us. But, I know Leno's a good shot stopper, but I need to see more, and it's the consistency. And Leno has mistakes. And as much as we want to be a better team defensively, again, there's bigger problems than Leno. We're not going to be a great defensive team with these liabilities in our team consistently, whether that's the left back, the midfielders, the keeper, whatever. We have improved defensively, but we're still making these iffy mistakes week in, week out. We've had 9 red cards, however many individual mistakes leading to goals. These things are there, and to a degree, I think Arteta needs to fix it, but it's above him. He needs help in that regard. So I'm not saying to rub out Leno to get rid of him and all of these sort of things. I just believe Matt Ryan deserves it. Leno's been a bit shaky. Like, for me, again, I'm not at the grounds, but there was one time in Europa League, Leno, I think it might have been Holding or someone. Leno's come rushing out. He's not said a word. For me, it looked like the man them can't hear you in it. So Holding's dealt with it. And then he shouted. It was either Gabriel, Luiz, or Holding. I cannot remember it, but I know you lot remember this moment because I spoke about it in the live stream. And then Leno's going ballistic. I'm like, brother, you never said anything. You just came running out. But the same things happen with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, you can hear him, man. Keepers, this, that, and the other. He's vocal. And again, that's all I want to see. I want to see a calm pair of hands, vocal. That's it. Like, do I believe in Matt Ryan long-term future at Arsenal to be first choice? Of course not. But I think he deserves to play ahead of him. I like Matt Ryan. I like how I don't have to question if he's about this. And I'm not saying Leno isn't, you know, but I don't have to question if Matt Ryan's serious. He gives me the vibe of, you know, he's always prepared. You know, you never have to ask him questions. He's always on time. He's serious about it. You know, him being an Arsenal fan and all of this stuff, I love it, but it's irrelevant to me. You know, I just get the vibe that he's serious with it. And that's what I want to see. And again, if you earn your spot, you deserve it. In the same way, once upon a time, Joe Willock played his way into this team. Eddie Nketiah last season played his way into his team. Whether these things are the long term or whatever, that's another story. But I just feel spots are earned, and it just feels not everybody, like some people can do what they want at this club. Some people are just, it's very volatile. And I listen, I like that Arteta backs Leno. Leno probably will start against Villarreal, but we have to look at that. And to be fair with you, Leno hasn't been a bad signing, but, you know, he did come with this tag of being a bit error-prone and mistake-ridden. Look, can we really be surprised that, you know, it's kind of, you know, carried on in the same vein where he's left? Like I said, I just don't like the unhealthy amount of arrogance, man. Like, I like how he carries himself with a swagger, but I just don't think there's enough balance in there. So, for me, Matt Ryan would start, man. What are you guys saying, man? Do you back your team against Man United in the final, broski? We're not in the final yet. We have to try to do a thing against Villarreal. But same way, obviously, I'm going to always back my team, if any final, you know, really and truly. And that goes for any supporter of any club, man. I'm not just going to sit there and say, let's lose, man. You know, that's it as well. Leno, I don't think it's the sole reason, because we need to score goals, really and truly, AJ. It's not as simple as that. But I said that earlier. Leno has made some sick saves. But if I'm real with you, I think he's fallen off a cliff a bit this season. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Hella scheduled vids, thumbnails, all patterns. I can tell it's grind season. Trust me, man. We're grinding out here, man. I woke up early on Monday. It's time to get out there. We don't make excuses. We try and make things happen. That's my mantra for life. Man said 40K today, hopefully, but that one there is dream chasing, my guy. Rome weren't built in a day, but every day, DG Nation, like I always give the example, we're laying some scaffolding, we're putting some bricks down, the plumbers are there, and all of those sort of things there. Leno's been overworked, nothing to do with being better. Don't understand that, but okay. I think if anything, Leno looks better when he's overworked in goal rather than having to make 1-2 saves a game. I'm not too sure it's to do with overworked. I think he's not had a stable defense in Leno's defense. And even if Matt Ryan was to play, we've consistently, through injury or not at times, we've consistently changed who's at right back, who's at left back, who's in the middle of defense. And again, when it was more, you know, before we nosedived off a cliff, there was a little second when we was playing all right, where you could see where Marie, Gabriel, Holding, Luiz, all of these guys were being put in, and it weren't that deep. But on the other hand, I always say to you, look, you need stability. You know, we ain't got a Man City. When you've got a Man City squad, then you've got Laporte, ThIs, to a degree, Stones, you know, Cancelo can do a job at left back. Mendy's there. Carl Walker's there. When you got them sort of players there and the intelligence and experience, you can mix and match. But even then, how many times across the season has Pep Guardiola played the same lineup in defense? I think people underestimate stability. We need to get the defense all working, that back five unit all working. And obviously, the midfield is a big part that goes over people's heads. You look at our midfield, you know, we'll get into it. El Nene scored, and El Nene's probably, you know, apart from Joe Willock, he's not here. El Nene's probably the most likely to score goals out of our midfield. That's not a criticism of the players necessarily, because we never bought Partey in to score goals. We've been knowing Xhaka can't do that. I know Xhaka scores a couple of seasons and they're spectacular, but he's not a goal scoring midfielder. That's the problem, where it's down to Arteta, who was a midfielder, and you've got rid of some and whatnot. It's down for Edu and the people above him, I'd say, to sort out the midfield. Because when you look at our midfield, what does it stand for? It's not like the Arsenal of old days where we can play a million passes, pass you off the park. It's not like we're mad defensive. You know, it's not like we can control dictate the tempo of a game. So if you're not mad defensive, if you're not good on the offensive or defensive, if you can't score goals, if you can't create, what's your midfield about? That's very dangerous. You know, this is why, you know, this is the problem, with or without Partey. Really, you look at our midfielders, what are they about? Really, what is our midfield partnerships about? Again, next season, I want to see a bit more stability, and that goes for everybody in the club, really. Matt Ryan is the CEO of Dark Arts. I'd say David Luiz, but he gives him a thing. Bit harsh about Leno can't catch, but I get you. And I like that, man. You know, if Matt Ryan speaking Portuguese, you know, I imagine he speaks Portuguese, because you have been saying that. Did he not have a time at Valencia? So there's also that aspect with speaking Spanish, if there is, you know. you don't need to speak Spanish to Bellerin, but I want our players to be speaking other language. Confuse the opponents. We knowing us will probably confuse ourselves, but you get the point, man. I'm all for that. Ryan brings confidence to the back line. I agree with that, but I just feel in other, not even in anyone's defense, I just feel it's, as much as I like Matt Ryan, it's a bit like Pablo Mari, another guy who I like. The sample size of games, it's a bit small, like to be drawing conclusions, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion. Anyways, it is what it is. Oh, let's be real, man. Leno's a better keeper than Matt Ryan, man. Let's not be biased. You know, I see a lot of the Australian ones in there, and you know, it is what it is. To be fair, I don't really care who is better because I've got no allegiances to either. You know, Matt Ryan's doing his thing. Will we make him permanent? I don't mind. One thing I give Matt Ryan as well is that's everything I wanted to see from a second choice goalkeeper. I got confidence when you're brought in. You know, we all know, not to speak about Rinnison, but we all know we're going for Donny. What have you said? In my opinion, Ryan's game IQ is higher than Leno's. I get that. He understands when to play short, when to slow down the game and hold on to the ball, and will opt to kick long more often to stop the press. Facts. That's what I agree with. Now, maybe a bit of that is because of, you know, just who he is, how he reads the game, the experience. I think a lot of it is down to how Brighton have played. Typically, Brighton are trying to time waste and, you know, they're on the back foot typically in games when they play bigger sides. No disrespect to Brighton, because they play good football, and you saw what Welbeck was on. 100%. I think my thing with Leno's is Leno's focus, bro. It's just Matt Ryan, you can tell he's always focused. Like, he gives me the vibe of someone that goes out there, does meditation and yoga and all of those sort of things. It's just Matt Ryan seems switched on. That's one thing I give him. From your switched on, I got time for you. And again, I don't think Matt Ryan is amazing and things. It's just, it's about confidence, especially in them sort of positions there. And when you've got someone who, let's be real, Gabriel, we can describe him as a naive defender. Like, even that foul he won off Wilson yesterday, he got away with that. You know, if that wasn't a foul, many refs would have played on, that could have been a calamity. That can help people when you've got them experienced sort of man there around the team. So I agree, man. And one thing I like about Matt Ryan is he's a leader. He's got that leadership. You can tell he's serious about whatever he's trying to do. I get the vibe that Matt Ryan is trying to leave his own little legacy in his own little way. He's not just taking games for granted. He's trying to seize the day, sort of thing. Ryan has shown much more leadership in defense, organizing and communicating much better than Leno. Again, small sample size, but fair play, man. Being a defender, if you're on the pitch, who do you feel more confident having behind you, Leno or Ryan? That's intangible, that adds to defensive effort and stability. Facts. I feel more comfortable with Ryan, but let's be fair. Sometimes I've seen us get peppered and Leno's made a big save. My thing is that, you know, when you're under pressure and teams are on top of you and your keeper's moving mad, it makes you nervous. That's something you can see Matt Ryan calm it down. I think Callum Chambers has a bit of that about him as well, man. Leno is a good shot stopper, but Ryan seems to make the back four more confident. He does take charge of his box. Commanding of the box, way more better, man. You know, way more better. Way better. If that more better don't even make sense, man. Not sure for a lot of potential. We're kind of late in the day with Matt Ryan, but I hear you, Marios. Leno often makes mistakes, man, and Matt Ryan is a great keeper with a lot of potential. He's clever in how he reads the game. You got to be confident. But again, the same conclusions being drawn when that eventual mistake happens with Matt Ryan, which I can see happening. You have to allow him in it, because that, you know, he does like to come off his line all the time, man. You know what? He's allowed to say he's open. He's open to move. You know, he's allowed to. He's allowed to. Leno is open to say he's considering everything, man. He's allowed to say that. But obviously, it. You know, fans that will take a dim view. They'll question your commitment and things like that. And I'd say that's one thing I'd say the players could do a bit better, in the whole club. It's the language. Now, what these players aren't saying is a bad thing, but we know football is a very emotional sport. So when you hear Leno questioning his future, when you hear who else done that, Ceballos, and then obviously Ceballos went on to make the mistake, not saying he done it on purpose. You can see where it goes, man. You can see where it goes, man. You can really see where it goes. To be fair, let's be real to Leno, man. As much as I'm getting on to him, there's been times he saved the club. Sometimes there's been goals that I've conceded where I've looked at and I'm like, maybe Leno could have done better, but it's been a poor sequence of play. I do think Leno, there's got to be some balance. Clearly, I'm of the thinking if I could, I'd bring in another keeper, but I do think Leno made some good saves. I don't think Leno is poor. You know, let's be real. Leno's probably one of the best players in the squad. He just needs to wake up and pattern and whatnot, man. And that's it. You got to give Leno respect. They say him and Aubameyang dragged us last season still, but he also made a lot of errors going to goal. But this is why we need balance. You can't just rub out Leno and draw him out and say he's this, that, and the other, man. But it is what it is. For me, it's all about who he plays. I don't think Arteta is going to play two different centre halves and then change up his keeper. You're going to get one or the other sort of thing. Personally, that's how I see it. And I do think people need to calm down. But football's an emotional sport, man. Very emotional sport, man. I think that's harsh, Neil. I do think Leno can play out from the back. I just think sometimes he's got a bit of arrogance about him. I think that's one thing Martinez had over him, is that Martinez, when he sees something, he does it quickly. It seems like Leno's too concerned with the Hollywood sort of thing, man. But that's that in relation to Matt Ryan and Leno. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, people. We're going to get on to the next segment in a bit, man. We need to bribe UEFA so they can finally care about racism. I don't think it's as simple as that, you know. Anyone that doesn't want to fix racism through a moral point of view, anyone that can be bribed is loyal to coin, and that comes at a price. That comes at a price tag. So make of that what you will, man. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, man. Food for thought, but we all said the same for Emmy with only playing a few games. That's also more food for thought, you know. I think Leno's a calm second choice. I don't believe in him to be first choice of a serious club, depending on what you make of that. Big up Matthew. Big up all the Scottish ones as well. Kieran Tierney Land, you said big up from Scotland, my guy. Hope you're well. Hope you and everyone else listening is also well, my guy. Good win at the weekend, but man, I'm nervous for Thursday. I want us to win, but from this season, I don't trust us, bro. It's that age-old thing of what Arsenal is going to turn up. Again, if it's the Arsenal that's played in certain big games and turned it away in the Europa League, I believe in us. I think it can be done, but at the same time, I don't know what Arsenal's there. You know, I really don't. Again, I hope that we stand up to be counted. But who knows, man? Obviously, we should all have nerves. On the face of it, we're out. You know, I don't want to be a negative nanny and things like that, but I could very well see my club getting back in this game and then switching off and conceding that away goal. You know, we're going to war. There's no way around it. We're firmly going to war on Thursday. You know, and anyone that thinks that's too much, anyone that thinks I'm overdoing it, if any of the players that think that's too much, they're in the wrong profession. You know, you're clinging on. You're not even going to make the Conference League place. You know, Spurs have had a crap season. Somehow they're going to get there in a fight for Europa League, Champions League places, and you've managed to be worse than them, you know, and a lot worse than a lot more teams. Liverpool, by their own standards, are falling off a cliff. You have been poor. The players need to take responsibility for their season. So does the manager. Yes, we can talk about we haven't had players, we've had injuries, pre-season, all of these things, but every team's had it. Every team knew with COVID the things that are happening. That's still no excuse for the lack of consistency in some of the decisions, the lack of consistency from the players as well, what we've seen on the field. Yeah, we can talk about coming from behind against Leicester and West Ham, two teams performing well, beating Chelsea, beating actually Spurs, teams above us, you know. I'm pretty sure United for the first time at Old Trafford, but these are isolated incidences. Over the 38 period of games, I know we're not quite there yet, we haven't done enough. Everyone needs to take accountability. Your season's on the line. You know, these Arsenal players have been making history in a negative way, you know, in a serious. The only plus point is that they ended the curse of winning away at Old Trafford in the league. You lot have been part of negative history, bare different stats, 10th, double, you know, letting teams do the double over you, you know, home defeats. There's mad statistics. You lot now stare down the barrel of being the first Arsenal team in 25 odd years to not be involved next season in Europe. Some of your names, unfairly, you know, the Tienis, the Sakas, unfortunately, you're going to be parred with that. You have a chance to pull it right. You're flirting with failure, you know. There's a chance to put it right. Again, you do what you need to do. You've got a final against United and make of it what you will. And if you've got any pride in your performance, any pride, personal pride, you do want to do that. Forget the fans. Of course, I want them to play for us, but it's for you lot now. It's for them. It's for these players to have a bit of pride now. And it's the toughest week. It's the toughest week for the manager as well, because although I cut Arteta a lot of slack, no man is above criticism. And like in the league, while I blame the players a lot, and the players, when you see 9 red cards and the individual mistakes, I don't think Arteta can preach anything more in terms of switching on and things like that to these players. But sometimes Arteta has overcomplicated things. My point being, nobody's hands are clean in this poor season. I won't go as far as to say you've got a chance to pull it right, but put it right. Now, I've been saying, well, Arteta said we've learned our lessons from Olympiacos, and I've been saying we haven't. Look at our Europa League clashes in the latter stages of the competition. Slavia Prague, Benfica, Olympiacos and now Villarreal. We're having to come from behind. It's a bit like us in the Premier League. Sometimes we're winning, drawing, and losing games by the same methods, whether we can break down a low block, whether we can focus. Over the whole season, sometimes we've started strongly and ended poorly. Sometimes we've started poorly and ended strongly. Football is a 90-minute game. It doesn't feel like my football club understands that, because too many times I've seen us come out and focus on VAR, focus on how good we were in the first 20 or the last 20. And I'm not saying these are not good points. Last time I checked, it's a 90-minute game of football, and if you didn't win, there's no point looking at positives, really and truly, in my opinion. Too many times I think we've gone in there with a defeative mindset. I do think there's a lot of things Arteta cannot control, like these players' mentality. I do think, if you can't pattern up under Unai Emery, at the time, he's won Europa League. You lot were failures. You couldn't fix up. You couldn't fix up under him. You couldn't fix up under Arteta. Some of you let down the great Arsene Wenger. I think a lot of these players can't be saved. But at the same time, a good tradesman has to get something out. And for the questions Arteta can't answer, there's no excuse for not having a consistent way of playing, for still not really knowing your strongest 11. There's no excuse for a lot of these things, and I'm not saying Arteta out and all of these things, but everybody has to be accountable. Why is it that, we can reserve blame for, and I'm not defending the Kroenkes, but we can blame the Kroenkes, we can blame the players. Why can't I blame Arteta for several things? Again, like I said, you've got to look at this with a balanced point of view. Arteta, like the players, Arteta is in this mess because of things he's done. There's been times I think Arteta's been hard done by, but as I said, there's been plenty of times he stood out in the rain and complained that I'm wet. You either get a jacket, get an umbrella, or read the weather forecast and get inside. How many times, even with injuries this season, we've gambled. David Luiz needed to get minutes. Again, as a fan, and I might be looking at it with a dim view, could it have been worth waiting for David Luiz, giving him, not using him against Newcastle, letting him train, and then you risking him on Thursday? Yeah, man would say he's not fit, but what would you rather risk him in? That or a game like Newcastle, where it was a bit like West Brom and Sheffield in that we've won the game in it? There's no pressure in it. I don't know. I'm not, and again, there would have been a fitness error. So to not have David Luiz, obviously, we actually played around with Bellerin's fitness. Odegaard picked up that knock in the international break, and we played him on, and then he's missed out a bit. We previously, earlier in the season, messed around with Thomas Partey's fitness. We've kind of gambled with Smith Rowe and Saka. I do think the handling of players, that's one thing Arteta can improve at. Consistency in your decisions. I like how you want to complicate things, but sometimes you have to realize all that false nine stuff is for next season, with players that can think and all these things. You gotta, like I said, it's primary school. We need to learn to read and write and do and write joining up before we try and do essays and that. So I do think Arteta, I just think he thinks these players are better than they are. I think on one hand, he's fully aware of how rubbish they are. But on the other hand, when I see several things, I think he puts too much faith. Now, obviously, when you're training and playing and you build up that camaraderie with people, you're going to believe that. But I always feel when you leave things to chance, there's that. And another thing, Arteta needs to learn from his own mistakes. I do think, when he wins, it's all the praise. And don't take this as an attack. Arteta can't be blameless for this season. We can't just sit here and say, we know we've struggled for years to get the right players and there's been bad practices and Arteta's kind of been dealt a short hand. We know there's many problems above Arteta. Same way with Emery. But the variables that Arteta can control, he hasn't done them properly. He's overcomplicated things. He hasn't learned his lessons from Olympiacos. He's unnecessarily rotated at times. He's not read things like against like Ceballos being sent off. Ceballos is a twat and he has to hold his hands up for being sent off. Because if he didn't deserve to be given that second yellow for that tackle, but we all knew it was happening. There was a tackle before that where he should have been sent off. It's down for Arteta to read those incidences, but same way it's down for the players to be smart. Xhaka was on a yellow and got away with a dark arts tackle. Dark arts on the weekend. It could have flipped the script and went on another way. Arteta, it's not even that he's naive. It's you need to learn from your mistakes. I wouldn't say I back Arteta. I wouldn't say I'm calling for him out. I'm defo vexed with a lot of things he's doing, but I defo think there's some good in him. Probably a bit of blind loyalty to the guy for whatever reason. But there's no safe place. And that's where we are as a football club. I don't see a manager that I can really believe in beyond what I've just said. I don't see an owner I can believe in. I don't see enough players I can believe in. And this is why I look at it with a balanced point of view. If that makes me a hater, whatever in it, because I don't think it does. It comes like it's illegal to criticize certain players within this team and therefore the manager. And again, I just want the best for Arsenal Football Club. So it's the toughest week. My point being, everybody's played a part to lead us to this point. There's no excuses. You've got 90 minutes to put it right. You've got 90 minutes to try and free yourselves from failure. Try and free yourselves from those headlines. You've got 90 minutes and plus extra time if it happens to get into that final. You know, big up my guy. He asked me, do I back us over United? Of course I do. I'll always back my team in anything, but we can't deal with that. You know, get to that final. You know, to be fair, sure, again, I could be wrong. In fact, no, do we get Europa League? If we were to get to the final and United beat us, do we get Europa League? Because they probably they are going to finish in the Champions League space, or would it be passed down to someone else in the league? I don't know, but there's a chance to get Europe. Now, you can, again, based on how the season's been going, I'd like to imagine Edu et al. Trying to use them uni reference things there, but I would have thought in the months building up to this, they're looking at their targets, and you would imagine, obviously, Champions League can make sure we can buy better players, or Europa can make sure we sign better players. But based on the way we've been going, we must have known for a minute now we're not finishing in Europe. So again, if the signings we're making, if it hangs on Europe or not, then I'm pretty sure there's a problem, because we should have plan A in a nice way. If we did qualify for top 4, that's what we're doing in the market. Plan B, Europa League, a full out plan for, you know, if it goes terrible, that's what we're doing. Make sure you're hitting the like button. So I want to see that. And that's for Edu, that's for Arteta on the same thing as well. That's for obviously the people above both of them. So make of that what you will. But we all know, you know, Thursday, there's no margin for error. There's no excuses. You know, you messed up in the first leg. You know, you've got injuries to key players. You know, for me, I'm gutted that David Luiz isn't there. Lacazette and Tini. Now, Arteta might be playing a bit coy, but for me, them man, they are leaders. You know, Lacazette can actually press as a striker. You know, Tini might not be fit. Luiz, you know, has his mistakes, but it's a game for character. I think them three have character in abundance. Like you saw yesterday with Luiz for Bellerin, well, in the build-up to the goal. It's a shame for David Luiz. There's rumours he's kicked his last ball for the club. Hopefully that isn't the case. But like I said, man, we've got, you know, we know what we need to do. We know what we need to do. There's nothing more to be said in that regards, people. So yeah, man, rally talk over. What are you lot saying, man? If finalists got it, we would have been in the Champions League after Baku. Not sure. So yeah, we get nothing. All right, cool. Nothing, bro. Nothing. So then again, nothing. You know, nothing, bro. So we need to fix up. We need to fix up. We need to fix up. We really need to fix up. Respect, Paul. I appreciate you. We've already beaten United this season. We can beat them again. It's belief in it. That's more. Anyone can beat anyone in anything, you know, within reason, you know. But we need belief. He doesn't get the vibe that these players got belief. That's one thing I don't think Arteta can give them. I think Arteta does try his best to give them belief, rally them up, give them all the, you know, all the tactics in the world. But as much as I can criticize Arteta for what I think he should be, when a man there cross that chalk and get onto that pitch, it's down to them. And not too many times I don't see players responding well to setbacks. You know, you're going to be part of setbacks all the time. You know, it's how you respond. You know, whenever I tell you about players, I say confidence. Confidence isn't just when everything's great, when everything's shining like in the backdrop. You know, when everything's going wrong, when the fans are onto you, when the fans have given up on you, like a lot of us have done with the players, you know, and given up with everyone connected to that club. Yeah. You have to have the confidence to fix up and do something and show things. I see Saka's got it. I see Martinelli's got it. I see a couple other men got it. Not enough have it. You know, it's about belief. If these boys believe, you can do anything. But again, we're seeing it in too many isolated incidences and not enough consistency. So these players need to put in the hard graft. You know, I see and then they're talking about doing extra shooting practice, and he scored on Sunday. So a couple man must be doing the hard graft. Well, it is what it is, man. It is what it is in that regards, man. Love for that Planet X. Not sure what racist, if there was a racist in the chat or whatever, but you know, we don't need any of that nonsense there. Big up everybody of all different cultures and faiths that just love football and ain't got time for that nonsense. But you know what they say: once you go, you never go. So you know, he's probably racist because his mum loves me, but it is what it is, man. You know, I'd hate me too, man. I'd hate me too, bro. You know, mummy, if you want the chocolate, you know the take. Leno all day, can't risk it. I don't disagree with that. You know, it's not, on one hand, it's not necessarily the time to take risks. What has this said? Matty is a passionate Arsenal supporter and a decent keeper. He commands his box vocal and helps his defense like a sweeper. Yeah, he is. To be fair with you, I hear it with the fan thing, but I'm not really. Listen, him being a fan's irrelevant, man. It's irrelevant. It's nice for us as fans, but it's not making sense. Allegedly, big up all the likers, people. There's 184 likes. There's 313 of you people do their jobs. Live from Planet X says there's super chats, but I can't see anything, man. I think you're lying still. But it is what it is that I'm playing, man. I can't see anything. Maybe they took their super chats back. Well, at 2 p.m., I'll be offering my opinion on that, my dude. I'll be getting into that at 2 p.m. with my guy Matisse. So make sure you're there for that live stream as well. I should share my screen with you guys, innit? Really, we've got hella content, man. I feel like I've got a little market stall with fruit, and I'm telling you lot to come buy it and stuff. But let me share the screen, man. I don't cap to you lot. Oh, no, that's not what we need. This is what we need. Where is it? View on YouTube. So yeah, people, content galore, man. That's the thing with Matisse. It's Champions League business in 2 days. If in relation to Chelsea, obviously we've got the Europa League. You got that, bare different content, man. It's content galore, people. Like I said, don't shag yourselves and don't miss out, people. That's the link that's gonna drop in there. I'm gonna drop all the links in the comments, people. Everything should be in the pin message. But yeah, let me be shameless with it. I always try to help you lot. And obviously, just because these are the schedules, there's going to be more content. Like, we'll probably be back here at 11:30 tomorrow. Hopefully, there's some Arsenal news in that regard. So my guy will focus more on them sort of things there for that live stream, man. It don't matter if you're late. Lateness is greatness, man. I don't give up on Leno. I think Leno's still a decent keeper. I just don't rate him as much as other fans feel. And I would like a better keeper, But people are turning on him and things. I just think he needs to focus. He just needs to find his mojo back. Everybody drops opinions, but it is what it is. Here's an unpopular opinion, but the goalie is only as good as the defense in front of him. That's kind of what I've alluded to about he needs a defense in front of him, but at the same time, you can see obvious deficiencies in his game, man. It really makes sense, good comment though, my bro. Everybody's saying some interesting things. This is why I love speaking with you, look, because people say some sensible stuff. Good analogy, DG. There's primary school mentality and ability in many of the players at times, sometimes more often than not, and often at the worst times. I'd arguably say, bro, as much as I feel it's tough to say, we've got players who can pass footballs. They've all got technical ability. They're not poor footballers. They're just poor because of their decision-making, their consistency, and their bad habits. These are things they need to ask themselves, because if I'm them, yeah, you can say what you want about the manager or managers that have been here previously. Why are you part of this football team that's going nowhere right now so fast? Yes, we know the owner and things like that, but everyone that's been part of this, have you done your best? I don't think they're as carefree as people think, but I don't think there's enough desire in them, man. So yeah, finalists get nothing. So again, it's peak for them. If they want something, they got to do that. Super chat in the building. Would you take the Bradker at Arsenal? Nah. I'd rather my scouts just go find something, really and truly. Bro, there's always pagans, but it is what it is, man. The likers, them keep moving. DG grinding, we love to see it. Kante in the thumbnail, shameless plug, man. You know what? It was Havertz before. I thought, let me bust Kante. After that performance last week, you gotta have Kante in the lineup, man. Steve, apologies. Live from Planet X, apologies. I didn't see those live chats. I appreciate the super chats regardless, though, my broski. I really do. Man said, big up Deluded when you're next on AFTV. Bro, you have to ask Robbie, bro. You have to ask Robbie, Turkish, all of these guys, bro. I don't work for AFTV. If they shout, man can be there, innit? But no one shouted me, innit? So what do you want man to do? Calm down, my guy. I don't know for any Indian Super League. I'd have to do my research. Please stop spamming. You're smashing up. You're killing the vibes. It's Monday, bank holiday. It's early for some people in America. Don't want to see that, man. We don't need to see that, man. Let's just calm down, man. We should not protest on Thursday. What's your opinion? Big up for the content. Bro, we should definitely protest on Thursday in any capacity, whether it's online or not. I hear what you're saying. It might distract from the players, but the players have to be man enough to just focus on the game. This is, if they are in touch, it's on the play. It's not on them protests are not at you directly. They're at the board. Your job is to deal with the football. You know, in the same way you tried to deal with it with the last protest, just deal with the football, nothing else in that regard. So I feel it shouldn't be a thing. Obviously, when with what you've seen at Old Trafford, obviously people are going to dread the worst, breaking into the Emirates and all of these sort of things. Again, obviously, I don't necessarily disagree with any of that, but what I will say is I hope everybody that protests or whatever, should these things happen, I just advocate safety in it. I hope man are safe. You know, I don't want no one to be hurt. I don't want no one to lose their jobs, anything like that, which is probably going to happen with the Old Trafford thing. How hella man are bait face. And like somebody tweeted, I can't believe man broke in at Old Trafford and no one tried to score a Rooney volley. No one tried to hit a Ronaldo free kick. No one tried to do nothing. I would have been protesting, but I would have tried. Like, not too often you get to play on the Premier League pitch, and a big pitch like Old Trafford, no one's going to try to hit a banger. How many man can say they scored at Old Trafford and that? Are you mad? I'll be trying to do the Wiltord, go and celebrate like Wiltord and that. Aye, you mad? Let's be real, man. Partey can pass a football. I don't rate him, but Ceballos can pass the football. Xhaka needs a million years, but Xhaka can pass the football. Bro, we've got the players are good. Let's not cap. They can play ball. They're just not consistent, bad habits. You know, that's what makes them dead, man. I don't know where I said Martinez was bad, but fair play. You know, we've got players who could pass a football. It's just not enough, man. I don't know about the fella that hurt himself, but I hope he's calm. And what I will say is the one thing I feel sorry for is I see one Stewart. Like, I don't know what happened to his face, but he looked like he's in problems. Obviously, a couple man that are just trying to do their job, they don't deserve that, innit? It is what it is, man. You're better than AFTVA, man. Appreciate that. They got a million subs though. I don't, so it is what it is, man. Yeah, Charles Turkish is Hollywood still, man. Shout out Turkish. Ain't spoken to him in a second though. That man did score like Rooney. All right, fair play. Someone was serious then. I see somebody just jogging and things like that. You know, it is what it is. All I care about is that some people, the man, them just stay safe, innit? Like, people need to stay safe. No one needs to get hurt and things like that. DGTV. I appreciate you lot, man. You lot gas me, man. We need to keep the pressure on Kroenke. He was willing to sell our club at the drop of a hat. What's this brother on? Everyone subscribe. We're trying to get 40k. Appreciate that. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and you know, you hit the likes and reminders of all the content that's out, man. What else have we got on meant to get on about, people? So yeah, man, I've spoken about toughest week. Wait, let me actually make sure these timestamps are spot on, man, because I ain't got time for the peeing around. You know, toughest week. Let's move that. When did it actually stop? Yeah, man. What else we got to speak about? We done the Matt Ryan thing. Let's put Matt Ryan at the top. Like to have it in numerical order for you guys, just because it makes sense. Is numerical a word? Wavy, innit? So yeah, man. What else we got to speak about? The conventional question. Somebody said Callum Chambers and Gabriel partnership, people. Where have we started with this? Where do I feel? Let me share my screen, because I think if there's any bullet points that come to mind, I might have to spray them. So where have we gone? Gabriel and Callum Chambers. Now, if I look at the pros, let me just quickly try freestyle this. What's the pros of them? You know? Let me think of the cons first. The cons. Man said coins. Cons, that shows my level of English. What's your dream signing for the summer? Awa, Buendia, all of these guys. But cons, both kind of nice. Both don't look over shoulders. Over shoulders. This is assuming it's going to play against Villarreal. Not play together too much. What else is there? You know, communication. There's a communicational barrier, probably. You know, how much do they understand each other in terms of games? Now, if there's any possible, oh yeah, also, which one is going to be the leader? And what I mean by that is, you know, you see David Luiz kind of be the mature one. Obviously, David Luiz is a bit of a firecracker in his own right. But when he's playing with Gabriel, sorry, he'll kind of become a bit more mature, be the sort of Puyol to his PK. Who is going to do that? I think it's going to be Chambers, because Chambers is a bit more, in my opinion, a tiny bit more street smart than Gabriel. I do think it can work, but it would need it to be blooded in. Now, pros, you know, obviously the first one is balance, you know, left-sided / right-sided, you know, both kind of young. What else? You know, both fairly decent ball players. I think Chambers is, I like Chambers' reading of the game over Holding. I think he gets around a bit more. Pro, yeah, they're the only pros I can really find with it. I'm not gonna sit here and cap to you lot. Obviously, you could say it's another option. I'm really forcing it here, people. I would be up for it. I wouldn't mind it. I don't think it's the worst. I think we need to throw in other partnerships. Like right now, what sort of centre-half partnerships are there? First choice for me is something that ain't going to be seen right now in David Luiz and Gabriel. Obviously, I wouldn't mind Gabriel and Marie, but so far we haven't seen those two left-footed centre-halves deployed together. You know, so you've got Gabriel and Holding and Marie. Holding and Gabriel's a bit hit and miss, in my opinion. I've seen them work well. I've seen them look poor. I wouldn't mind, you know, Chambers and Holding. I don't really want to see that. You know, I'm sure Mane's the only one that wants to see that. I wouldn't mind Chambers. First and foremost, he's a centre-half. I do think he had a very good game against Newcastle when he came on. He reads the game. He's a bit more pessimistic than Gabriel. You know, he reads the game a bit more. He expects certain things to happen, like where you saw with Saint Maximin, where I did think he fouled him, but he dealt with it. So it could be another decent option. I'm not really convinced with it. I think it, you know, I'm at the point where you could try it because you ain't got nothing else to lose, but I'm not really convinced with it. Personally, I would like another centre half, but I don't mind Chambers being part of the squad. And I'm pretty sure when it comes to Chambers, how do I make it make sense? It's like I'm stuck between two worlds, because on one hand, yeah, I think Chambers is cool. I think you need a calm squad player like Chambers. You know, he can do up right back. He can do up centre half. He's probably going to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Probably never going to be in Arsenal's first choice centre half pairing. He's probably not going to be Arsenal's first choice right back. He's probably not going to be Arsenal's first choice midfielder, but you need a couple squad players. You know, we've got too many of them, but I think he's a calm squad player. Also, and so I think he can stay, but Arteta likes him. Clearly, he's done very well to get back from injury. But the devil's advocate in me will say, hold on. Everybody talks about selling Lacazette. I know they're not the same, but they've got the same contract length, you know. El Nene to a slight degree as well. So could we argue similar to Lacazette? Some man might say maybe. I know Chambers is homegrown and we've got to keep him, but could Chambers be sold? You know, people could look at it and say, yo, he's come back from his injury. He's doing his thing. We'll give Arsenal a little 15-20 for him. Get our money back. And like I said, I'm a fan of Chambers, but you know, could we see ourselves taking our money back for him? Again, the homegrown thing might make him stay, but if you could grab a 15-20 for him, obviously Joe and Maitland, these guys probably will be sold. Potentially Guendouzi and Torreira in some capacity be off the wage books. This allows you to reinvest and do other things, because if we're real with ourselves, you know, I would like another centre half. I would like Saliba to be developed next season. Gabriel's the best centre half at the club for me. Holding, I think you should be a squad player, and I think Chambers should be a squad player. I'm probably missing someone else out without knowing what we're doing with David Luiz as well, who should probably be moved on and given a marginalized role. But I think Chambers is I wouldn't say underrated. I think he's underappreciated, because I think people underappreciate a squad player. I think the thing with Chambers, when it's a madness, when the team's just at 6s and 7s and it's just looking mad, I think Chambers is one of them, man. He just looks like a madman as well, not through his own fault. It's just, he's one of them guys, isn't it? He just looks like a calamity. But when there's a bit of stability, I think he looks all right. And like I said with Matt Ryan, what I like about Chambers is he knows what he's paid to do and not to do in this squad. He not understands his pay grade. You know, he don't try things he's not meant to. And I like how he gives it to the best of his ability. Don't get it twisted. He can get ripped. You know, does he deserve a new contract? I'll leave that to you lot listening, because he's contracted for 2 years. I swear we said that as a football club. If this sort of thing happens, we're trying to make sure that isn't a thing. So I'll leave that one there to you. But I like I said, when Chambers is put in, whether he's played good or bad, I haven't had to question his commitment level. So I don't mind Chambers staying, but the devil advocate would say, you know what, we're talking about raising funds. The owner might not be investing. We might not get Europe. You know, can a couple of these players play their way into the market? Because Chambers might sit there and say, I love being at Arsenal, I like it, and that Arteta clearly likes, man, but like I said, unless it's a thing like what we're hoping with Matt Ryan, where, you know, you can't really deny a man a spot. Is he really going to get into, is he going to be a first choice right back? I like Chambers, but in the ideal world, I want, you know, Cedric will be the backup. Not saying him or Chambers ain't better, but we have a proper right back. Centre half, is he going to be your centre half? Is he your third or fourth choice centre half? I have to ask you like that. You know, centre midfield where he's played. Is he going to get in the centre midfield of the park if we had it in our own way? Now, we're not going to have Arsenal the way we want it, but you get the point. So that's a decision that we'll have to make, people. And for Callum Chambers, again, you want to play regular football. Yeah, it's great we saying he's a squad player, but could you go somewhere else and play? I don't think he's gonna be an England regular, but he's been called up before, and I'm sure every Englishman has that ambition. So are you going to realise that playing occasionally at Arsenal? I don't know. No centre-half at Arsenal has the passing range of David Luiz. Hey, Gabriel's is there. Gabriel's is levels, to be fair, but David Luiz has got that. Do you know what it is? I do, Andre, I do you one step further. That's why I want David Luiz to play, or did want him to play, because I feel he's brave with it. For all his mistakes, he's brave. You know, David Luiz, when he will try and drive with the ball. Tierney will try and do that. Lacazette will try and do that. This is why I wanted them to play against Villarreal. Tierney and Lacazette allegedly haven't trained. You know, David Luiz hurt himself, so it is what it is. But I fully agree with that, man. I fully agree. But to play devil's advocate, could I say that's where we're at as a football club? Because David Luiz is kind of key to our system. He's been a better defender than myself included have given him credit for, and is more important beyond all his mistakes. But like I just said there, not that he made a mistake in his last game, but I'm saying this, and I'm prepared to accept the mistakes he's going to come with, you know, because of that passing. You know, Xhaka, he has a bit of mistakes in him, but we know how vital he is to the midfield. Could I say that's kind of why we're at where we're at where we are at as a club? Because, you know, we kind of rely on these players with their deficiencies and things like that. But I fully agree with you, man. David Luiz, for me, he's got the best character. He's a leader. You know, he's got a great passing range. You know, him and Gabriel up there. You know, facts, my dude. Facts. This is why I like speaking to you, because everybody's offering something, man. I just said that we won't have David Luiz for the Villarreal game. We need to listen to learn and learn to listen, my guy. You know, you're just chatting for the sake of chatting. Holding is Kalam. Don't think Holding's as bad as people make out, but he's so naive, man. I think he's a squad player, nothing better, man. I rate Chambers, always does his job perfect to be a squad player. I'm part of the Chambers fan club. Chambers was the best. Yeah, he was. He had a good. What, he got bodied against Chelsea United, didn't he? He was doing all right. He was doing all right, man. You're better than AFTV. They're overrated and cause a lot of instability. I think that's harsh. You know, I wouldn't say they're overrated or cause instability. But if you think if people think they're better than me or I'm better than them, you know, that's cool. I'm not really in competition with none. I'm just doing my own thing. You know, I'm in a different lane. Yo, DG, out of curiosity, you consider coaching? I've coached before. I would, but it's like I look at it and I just see coaches they're too disposable in this day and age. And I just feel at grassroots level, it's worth it, but it's not worth it, because I see the best coaches, they're not really paid the best. You know, they're sidestepped for people who don't have to grind as much as they want. It's a bit long, man. You know, it's a bit long. Love for that. That's massive praise, man. Massive praise. But that's how I feel, people. What else have we got? We got the Newcastle tactical review. Let's get into that quickly, because I've been delaying that for you guys, people, before we get into anything else. You know, let's grab that one really quickly. There's not much to speak about. We're not going to be here long, people, but you know, let's speak. Let me move my cream, because it's in the way of my screen. I don't know why Siri's chatting to chat to me. Siri's always acting up when I'm with you guys. You know, you never want to chat to me when I'm just doing my work, but every time I'm with the DG Nation, Siri's always asking me stuff. Leave me alone. Now, obviously, let's be real, you know. Wait, where's the other one? Let's be real with ourselves, yeah. We did very well in that game. We did very well. Let me put Leno, Matt Ryan in goal. Shout out to Matt Ryan, because you could see him sweeping and playing like a centre half at times. That's the most I'm gonna say on Matt Ryan, because really and truly, in the last couple of games, you've probably noticed, I've been avoiding doing the tactical reviews because there isn't much to speak about. And to really and truly in this game, there isn't much to speak about for me personally, because what do we know? It's a team that sat back against us. We did break down a low block, but they didn't offer nothing against us. Tactically, we did our job, but on the same hand, you know, it's a bit like it's the West. It's a bit like the West Brom and Sheffield United games for me, in that, bro, these teams are half beaten. You know, Newcastle didn't have no fire in their belly. Yes, you saw a couple runs from St. Maximini, Savage, Xhaka a bit. He had good close control, but generally we did our job. You know, we had St. Maximini collecting it from here. Now, obviously, when he turns with the ball, if I can get it, if he turns with the ball and dribbles, he's a problem. But you don't mind him there. He's 9 times out of 10, he should run into, assuming everybody's moving people, he should run into blind alleys. It's when you have him here or floating around, you know, they conceded the back foot and we were all on top of them. We're in their own half, people. We're on top of them. You know, Bellerin's even overlapping and then he went on the underlap and it was a bit weird at times. I was seeing Xhaka narrow, Bellerin narrow, Willian there, Martinelli there. And I was thinking, if this team hit us on the counter, which was there on occasion, we could have been in problems, people. But generally, we had nothing to do, if I'm completely honest with you. They had all mans to the pump. We all know Martinelli, you know, had my man on strings, Josh Murphy, who's meant to be a right winger. He had him on toes. Now, I thought Martinelli first 10, 20 was a bit hot and cold. Clearly, Arteta's told him to hug the touchline, I think, when I watched the game again. But for me, when he comes into this inside role, he's more of a demon. Like when he's sometimes mixing it up, going down the flanks or coming inside. In an ideal world, pretending this is Tierney bombing forward. You know, Martinelli, like Arteta said, Martinelli's a gunman. There's no reason why he can't play as an out-and-out striker / false nine on the left. And for me, actually, on the right, he's good enough to perfect all of them roles. Obviously, one day, is he a left winger with the ability to play in those roles? Is he a striker with the ability to play those roles? But this is good for his education, you know. So, obviously, I think people gas Martinelli's performances. You know, his first touch was a bit hit and miss, couple times and whatnot. I think Ceballos denied him 2 assists, actually. But you know what Martinelli's on, really and truly, you know. Not to skip to the second goal, again, not to scale, but it came something like this, you know. Again, people said Aubameyang hasn't got general play. Again, I don't want to move the Newcastle men because I just think it paints a good picture. But for the second goal, it's all Aubameyang, really. Aubameyang and Odegaard try play that 1-2. You lot remember, it gets clapped out from Aubameyang. Odegaard palms it out to this left-hand side. Martinelli brings it across, and it's the movement from Aubameyang. And this is how you see the small glimpses of how these two play with each other, because obviously Aubameyang's a striker, innit? He knows I need to get in a certain area, but I think he knew what Martinelli was on. And the goal is one thing. Shout out to Odegaard for keeping it. Shout out to Arsenal, because a couple of times we did have sustained pressure on Newcastle, but he's made that run and it's an inch perfect pass. Boom, simple as that. But go and watch the goal again, man. Say Aubameyang doesn't build out from the back. He done very well in that regards. Now, El Nene's goal. Again, this is why I'm going to miss David Luiz personally against Villarreal, because he's brave. You know, there's other men involved in the play, but long story short, it goes to Bellerin. Is it a bird? Is it a play? No, it's actually Hector Bellerin bombing down the right wing. I couldn't believe it. Bellerin's putting a half-decent ball. You know, Aubameyang, it makes those comical misses. He's missed it. And eventually it's fell to El Nene. Now, we say the ball's here. One thing I loved about El Nene is, you know, we need box-to-box midfielders, guys that run in there. El Nene isn't going to score too many goals. He did yesterday, and he said he's been working on it. El Nene's not picked up by Newcastle. He's just made a simple run, like a galloping run, and then obviously you've seen the ball fall to him. Let's put a goalie in there as well, and then he's banged it. And this is what I want to see from our midfielders more, not just El Nene. I'm talking more different personnel, but El Nene's just made a run. He's backed himself and the balls fell to him. Obviously, the Bradker should do a lot better, but how often do you see that? How often do you see a goal from our midfielders? You don't too many times. So there isn't much to say, really. It was a lackluster game. We're all on top of them. We had the domination of control again. But for me, I don't read too much into that game because it gives me the vibes of West Brom and Sheffield, in that these games were half won, but by the time it was the 5th minute, there is no pressure on us, and we're a fantastic team when it comes to no pressure, people. David Luiz now, people, obviously, it's a bit of a heartfelt one for David Luiz because allegedly he might not play a game this season again. If we quickly scope over to Arteta's comments, people, he said, you know, on David Luiz, he said, we don't know. He felt something in his hamstring, so it's not good news. He's put in such a shift to be back with the team for the last few weeks after knee surgery. It's a real shame. What I will say is, I'm no physio, but is this another example with Partey, with Odegaard, with couple times this season where we need to save man from themselves. Because on one hand, even Tierney, on one hand, when we look at it, yeah, it's commendable. My man's had surgery, you know, he's 30 odd, we thought his season's done, he's come back and he's been fit. But do we need to save him from himself? We know we need David Luiz. Luiz wants to play, Arteta wants him to play, but do we need saving from himself? Because the flip logic would say, hang on, is there not a risk of a recurring injury because he's came back? And as you lot know, sometimes when some footballers are out, you know, they'll pick up little hamstring knots because he ain't played for weeks and he played a lot. It's a shame, you know. I don't advocate injuries, but you'd rather him have suffered the injury where he's been clamped. You know, we all knew the worst when he was under no pressure. Well, I know St. Maximin's closing him down and he went down. It's a bitter pill to swallow for David Luiz. One thing you can say about him, he's got character, he wants to lead, and he looked dejected. He looked dejected when he came off. He looked like he's going to cry, really. So if this is David Luiz's last game, you know, again, you've made mistakes. You've not quite been what we've needed, but I think you've been a better defender than I had you down for. I've never had to doubt your integrity. I've never had to doubt if you really care about this club. You know, I see a man that didn't, you know, David Luiz needs saving from himself. We go back to the FA Cup. My man didn't train. He took injections to play through the pain barrier and put in a fantastic performance in the final. This is a man that will, like many athletes here, put themselves through pain for this club. But could we have saved him? Because like I said earlier, yeah, he might have been rusty going into Thursday, but could we have said, you know what? We'll bring you off the bench against Newcastle. We won't play you. You get a couple more days training, you know. You might be a bit better, and then we go into the game on Thursday, and it is what it is. So we've lost him, and for me, it's the character, you know. Forget the ball passes and stuff, and we need that. It's the character. I think David Luiz's character, like Martinelli, like Tierney, like Lacazette, we need that in a second leg. Definitely when we're chasing a game, we need men who believe in themselves, because them things there, it rubs off to other men, like Martinelli. That's the one thing I like about Martinelli. His positivity, it rubs off on other players, or his tenacity, it rubs off on other players, if that makes sense to you guys, people. So that is something, that's a bitter pill to swallow. So, you know, if this is your last game for the club, it is what it is. I know there's a lot of talk about giving you a new deal. I don't mind it, provided you're going to have an extremely marginalized role, and we're going to bring in a centre-half that, like you, can be a good partner for Gabriel and potentially, you know, take the club forward. Because if we're real, David Luiz should be a squad player. David Luiz should have been moved on last year. This isn't me looking at it without emotion. This is, let's be serious. And I don't want us to do the same thing we was doing with Koscielny, in that we're over-relying on a man, which you could see what we're doing with David Luiz. I don't mind David Luiz staying if it's extremely marginalized and he's a character. Assuming he's in Europa League next year, he does up that. But I think that's an emotional decision. I don't think it makes sense. It's upsetting, man, to hear that he's got that and whatnot, people. So, you know, hopefully David Luiz is cool, but you got to prepare for the worst, innit? And maybe we can save players from themselves in future, really, because them things there have been happening, people. In relation to Martinelli / Gabriel starting, people, personally, where do I look at it? Now, for me, Aubameyang's fit, Aubameyang starts. Now, I'm going to touch on the Villarreal game when we preview it on Wednesday. Make sure you're there, people. 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday. But I'll go with Aubameyang. Aubameyang through the middle. He's got his goal. He looks sharp, in my opinion. Let's not reinvent the wheel like we tried to do in the last game. Let's play people in their right positions. You know, I don't really want to see Xhaka at centre-half. I think you move Xhaka in midfield. Saka, do a job for me at left wing-back. I know people are going to say what they want to say. And then you go with Martinelli on the left, Aubameyang through the middle, and Pepe on the right. Personally, I don't think we need to force Smith Rowe and Odegaard into the team. I think it's either or. I'll leave you lot to draw your conclusion. Should it have been Smith? Should it be Smith Rowe or Odegaard? Maybe even play one of them next to Partey, but I don't think we're going to do that. So again, I think Aubameyang and Martinelli have to start, because Aubameyang is a striker. He will press properly. We need people that have that infectious nature. Again, as much as it's a game for technical and tactics, it's a mental game, and I think Martinelli gets that. You know, so I think you've got to, if you can't play the Lacazettes, the David Luiz's, the Tierney's, Martinelli gives us a fraction of that, really. And obviously, Martinelli, he can protect Xhaka, you know, because we didn't protect Xhaka. On top of Xhaka playing poorly against Villarreal, Chuck Weezy's on his right hand, is a left foot on the right hand side. He's going to take my man on a cut in. We didn't mitigate against that. At least maybe with Martinelli, if we play the way we should be, his fullback, definitely if Foyth plays, I know he picked up a knock, have to defend. We didn't make their fullbacks or that team defend nearly as much, and we shot ourselves in the foot 5 minutes into the game. We know what's happened. We have to forgive ourselves for it. don't let it happen again. A mistake made more than once is a choice, and it's down for Arteta to not reinvent the wheel, gambling unnecessarily. You know, I know he said he loves Martinelli and all of those sort of things, but let's just play the normal players in their roles. So for me, my front three, that's all I'm going to focus on: Pepe, Aubameyang, and Martinelli. That would be it for me, folks. Really and truly. Should we look at some sort of stuff Arteta has said? Let me make sure I've got these spot on. On Reiss Nelson, Martinelli. Arteta's had something to say. That's why you actually saw the tab to this, people, really. You know, big up Aubameyang. We spoke about this, you know. Shout out to Aubameyang. He got 78 minutes. They weren't counting on that. Can't believe that's El Nene's first Premier League goal. It feels like I've seen him score enough goals. I've seen him score in Europe, both competitions, but that was the first time in the league. On Martinelli's game time, I think he alluded to, I always talk about football being a game of partnerships, whether it's centre-halves, whether it was previously Pepe and constantly changing the right backs, whoever is at left back, it's about partnerships. You know, indirectly, he might more or less said Tierney and Martinelli don't necessarily work well together. I think he played Gabriel Martinelli through a mixture of him giving him game time and also needing to kind of relieve pressure on Xhaka, because again, you can take Xhaka on as much as you want. You've got the Brazilian hitman behind him, in front of him. You're gonna have to defend. And I do think people gas Martinelli a bit too much. I think he's a great player, but I just think people move like he's that player we think he's going to be tomorrow. There's still a lot of rough edges in his game. He does a lot of dumb ish and it's unnoticed. You know, he weren't amazing for the whole Newcastle game. He woke up after about 10-20 minutes. You know, let's be real. He's still developing. The potential's there. I will say for fans, we need to see how we're going to improve him. And there's been times where we've been playing poor. I don't understand how other men have got opportunities. But on Martinelli, he said, I think they all played really well and Gabby's improving every week. He's taking his minutes in the right way and he's developing the way we all believe he can. Today, he had an assist, which was an important moment. He had some really good moments off the left and also trying to play as a number 9. Now, you saw him and Aubameyang rotate and swap. For me, I've at least said, assuming nobody else comes, Martinelli, Saka, Pepe, that's got to be the short to medium term front three. Unless, you know, at least until Balogun develops or he's given an opportunity to, you source another striker or some next academy player comes through or some other player signed, you know. Pepe's now starting to come into his own. Martinelli and Saka need no introduction. I think that's got to be you long term. You use Aubameyang for the present as well, of course, but we do need to be looking for a striker, regardless of what we do with Martinelli, in my opinion. So yeah, he said, just look on his playing time. He said, just look how much he's played in the last few years, then how much he's played with me when he's available. Oh, I don't know for that, you know. To be fair, he's had the injury. I don't know. To be fair, you know, Arteta might have some clout. I'd have to see how much minutes Martinelli's played under Unai Emery and you. To be fair, I think I'm leaning more with Unai Emery. He said, you know, it seems like he's talking bossy here, you know. He said, then how much he's played with me when he's available, then we can discuss that. He seems like he's had enough. It's what happens. This debate is always happening when you don't win. If it's not him, it will always be something else. If it's not Gabby, it'll be Lacazette, Willian, or Pepe. It's part of it. You see how Arteta is shameless. Nobody's saying Willian, brother. Pepe, Lacazette, Balogun, them man there. He's got a point. I've said it before. Somebody's always got to miss out. And I think it's only with injuries, fans understand it's a squad game. Certain man was saying, sell Lacazette, sell Aubameyang, do this with Martinelli, do that with Saka. You can't have two of them. You can't have Odegaard and Smith Rowe. Football's a squad game. What happens when 3 of the 4 are on the pitch and nothing's happening? Or 2 are injured? It's a squad game, people. Everybody gets their chance. Well, hope so. And that is true. Everybody's going to speak up. It's always the man that isn't there that's the one we're looking at, you know. It is true, but the only thing I disagree with that, with respect to Willian, that you try to plug Willian there, Arteta, nobody's saying that for Willian. On whether he sees Martinelli as a number 9 long term, time will tell, but I'd like to develop him in both positions because I think he's got the potential to do both. Facts. For me, he's a number 9, but you can play off the left, bro. There's no excuses for that. Like, he should be able to, even off the right, he looks atrocious off the right, but bro, he should be able to play in those front 3 positions. All the best players, they obviously excel more in one, have more of a role in one, but they can play across all of them. And I think Martinelli's got that. Lacazette and Tierney haven't trained, and he said that, people, already. On Aubameyang having the right connection for Martinelli, you know, I will say, Arteta, you see the little glimpses with Aubameyang and Martinelli. You see what the Hey-Lem boys have done with Lacazette. You see what Pepe's done here and there. Imagine how quicker we go if you doubled down and you backed these players earlier on in the season and you allowed them to build these relationships and partnerships. It ain't going to happen when you're consistently changing the wingers and the strikers and the fullbacks and the centre halves. Football is about stability. Yes, it's a squad game, but we need stability. And that's just one of those things I feel for all the of luxuries I afford Arteta. This is regardless of what man say about the ownership and how tough the job is. These are another variable that the man can control. Yes, Martinelli's had injuries. Yes, Aubameyang's form's been on the floor. Yes, there's been other little variables, but you get the point. And it's true, people. You know, he said, yes, it's a connection. Having Granit behind him helps in a way because he's more in the last line on the left where he's more comfortable. With Kieran, it's a bit different. Those relationships are the ones we have to build. So again, that tells me indirectly you don't feel Tierney and Martinelli are work the best with each other, allegedly. And he said, if there are any doubts, I love Gabby so much, more than all of you. He's starting to sound like Pep Guardiola. And he's actually starting to sound like Pep Guardiola when he's speaking about Reiss Nelson. And the way he's spoken about Reiss and Eddie, I think he's like Pep in that when you read between the lines, when he overdoes it and like kind of appears ridiculously over apologetic, I think that means he doesn't rate you in that regard. On Reiss Nelson, he said, with Reiss, I would like to give him more. He's a boy who tries really hard. He trains every day. He wants to do extra all the time. It's very difficult at the moment with the players we have to be able to fit him in. First things first, if you really rated Reiss, which I think you do, you know, it's not necessarily rating, I should say, if you think he's the best option, you would play him. Clearly, you don't feel Nelson gives you what the others might have in terms of consistency, tactically, ability. That's why he's not there. That's why he's not in the matchday squad. That's why he's not off the bench. There's nothing to do with that, you know. I would argue Willian isn't the future, Nelson is, but in your head, he's not getting ahead of Willian. So he can train as hard as he wants and all of these things, you know, he's not, you don't really rate him like that. And on the other hand, Nelson's got to ask himself, what am I doing next season? Because Arteta did say go out on loan this season, you didn't, and you've wasted a year. You can't afford to do this, you know. If he believed you could help, in what we could describe as a dead rubber game against Newcastle, he would have played you. So there's the manager can do what he wants. This ain't a Reiss Nelson pity party, you know. But call a spade a spade. He said, I feel sorry that we don't have other competitions to use him in. Well, we know we've gone out of other tournaments. He deserves more. He doesn't play more, and that's my fault. It's your fault, but you have to say it's also Nelson's fault, because why aren't you being played? Are you being hard done by? Which on the hand you might be, but what aren't you doing? You can train as well as you want, but them man might be training better. What have they got that you haven't? Is it just a thing where it's the manager's decision? Probably, but you know, you've got to get out of this situation. I feel sorry for Nelson, and for me, I would like to see him get more game time next season. I think he's got to go on loan or leave permanently. I think the man's got talent. He deserves to play in it. Nice to see he works hard. I've seen a lot of people say he's not focused in training like they're there. What has this man said himself? It is what it is in that regards, people. It is what it is. I'm not going to read anything more that Mikel Arteta has to say, people, because it's not making much sense. Well, it's not that it's not making much sense. It's not really having any added relevance. So I'm just going to leave it at that, really. If I'm completely honest with you, well, make that a timestamp. I can't lie, I do so much for you guys, people, in terms of timestamps. So that's that. What are you lot saying in the comments, man? Let me move this. Isn't it easier for Arteta to divide opinions, not playing Reiss and then to not play Willian, and then everyone sees a clear failure of a signing? Not sure what you mean by that, but I just feel if you really rated Reiss, you'd play him in it. Like Reiss, and this isn't a Reiss Nelson pity party, you know. If you're not in the side, you're not in the side, man. We got Don DG, a real representative of Black excellent. Come on, man. I appreciate that, man. I've kind of answered that. They both start for me. I can't lie to you. I hear what you're saying, but who do you think is better 1v1? Saka against, who would you rather? Saka against Chukwueze or Xhaka against him? I'd rather Saka do a job on him, really. And then don't forget, Xhaka peels out to the left-hand side more times, so they can double up against him. Xhaka in his most natural position, Saka doing his thing, because Saka and Xhaka, they talk quite frequently. I think they can hold it up and they can mitigate against that together with Martinelli there. I think that can kind of shut up Chukwueze. Like, he's a baller, but based on that last game, he was a one-trick pony. It's the same cutting in off the right. You know, let's make him go backwards. We need to make those fullbacks go backwards, and I think we can do that. You know, for me, I'd love to see Saka off the right, but I think it's a game you've just got. Saka's just got to do a job for them and them, man. This is it. Well, you have that, and also you have Ceballos, who won't be doing that on Thursday, doing that little hybrid role, pulling out to the left in that regards, man. I'd offer Chambers a new contract over Luiz. Ooh. I see the logic. But same level, man. You know, I see the logic, homegrown and things like that. I see the logic, man. See the logic. Good start, man. And that's why I like Jay. He's never afraid to have his own things, man. Saka can play there. Cedric can play there, but I just think Saka gives me a bit more. And Saka doesn't kill us offensively out there. I think Cedric gets forward, but you know, more time he's always cutting in on his right hand side. And someone like Emre will clock that. That's gonna stop our building out from the back, which it has done, man. Bro, Bear guy should have got different minutes, but at the same time, you know, he doubled down on Willian. He rates Willian. He's got allegiances to Willian. Willian's the best thing since sliced bread to a degree. So, you know, Nelson's fighting against that. This is why in January should have catted out. Man. Should have kept it moving, bro. In my humble opinion, man. I don't mind the false 19. If you're gonna do it with someone who can do the false 19, don't give guys that are not natural in that role. It's not the time. If you wanted to blood that, you should have done it against Newcastle or done a little preview against Fulham and seen how it works, and then like, all right, cool, let's try it. You know, you don't go into those games and play it, man. You know, it is what it is. To be fair, you can't say Saka will get ripped and Cedric won't. They've all of those players can get spanned, really. I wouldn't mind Cedric. I'd rather Saka there, Cedric second, Xhaka third. But it is what it is, man. There's no right or there's no wrong. You know, no, it's not a fact that if Saka plays there, Cedric plays there, Xhaka plays there, it's all going to be 30. I know football fans, we all like to think we're right, but please, let's all have humility. I still think Leno is the number one, but competition is healthy. And right now, I think he deserves to be dropped for Matt Ryan because, like you said, competition is healthy. You're not doing your job. It isn't that, isn't it? Simple as that. It's as simple as that. In my humble opinion, man. Good backup. And this is what I needed to do. Challenge, man. Not sure that correlates, but fair play. Good point. H is saying, to be honest, I've never cared about the lineups. I'm more worried about the game management when subs are made, when controlling the game. Do we capitalize, etc.? And these are all questions that I can't answer for you, but they're good questions. It's down to Arteta to answer them things there, man. And that's it, man. For me, it's how we react. We can't afford to start slow. We need to simply outscore them. And for me, I do think Villarreal will score and complicate things, how do we react to that? Because the season's on the line, you know. We've been saying season on the line, most important game, playing for pride. We've been saying that bare times this season. Now is the best time. I appreciate the super chat. Big up yourself, Jay, for that. I appreciate that, and I'll always continue to work hard, man. I always will, man. What have you said? DG, my bro, who do you reckon is going through in the Champs and Europa this week? Well, the only English team I want to progress is Arsenal. Clearly, United are going through. I'm going to be positive. I think United are through. I think City are. You know what? I want PSG to go through. I want Madrid to go through. But I actually think Chelsea are going to go through. The City game, I'm not sure. I think PSG might do something. I think all the English clubs will go through when I use my brain. But in my heart, if it's not Arsenal, I don't really care, man. I don't want no one else to go through, really. I'd love Roma to come back. I'd love Madrid to do their thing. I'd love PSG to do their thing. I'd love Villarreal to just, you know, eat a dodgy lasagna and things like that. And we move, man. And we move. I wouldn't say, what have you said? Do you think that this season has shown us that Mikel Arteta cannot manage being in more than one competition? I wouldn't say that. I think it has highlighted potentially, without knowing the fitness of all players, I do think at times he rotates unnecessarily, and there's times to rotate he doesn't, and times that we haven't needed that he has. So I do think I would say that personally. Please stop spamming. It's not going to get your question answered. I keep seeing that question that I've answered already. Nonetheless, I appreciate that. Bro, Kolasinac next season like a new signing. I'm like, you can imagine it already. What's your stance on Arteta if he loses on Thursday? It's more of the same, really. Like, I don't believe in a single facet of the club. I have admiration for a lot of what Arteta is. I'm not saying he needs to leave. I'm not saying he needs to stay. I see good things. I see bad things. I don't think it's going to change much. It's going to make me look at you with a bit more of a fine eye. And depending on the manner we go out, he has to hold some of the blame, because he's been as fault as these players. He has been that in regards to the league and the Europa League. So make of that what you will. Personally, our squad has the depth of a pint glass. For me, it's not even the fact that he's inexperienced. I don't think Arteta, old habits die hard, and there's a time to be stubborn and a time to not be that, man. Kolasinac needs to keep it moving. Based on the fact that we've got no out-and-out backup left back, we could do with him now, but he just needs to keep it moving. Let's be real. Let's be fully real with ourselves. Like, he needs to keep it moving, if I'm completely honest. I think it's about time for lunch, though, people. So I'm going to have to cut this one there short. I'll save a couple of those talking points for the next one. But like I was saying, people, check out the pin message. It's content galore. Tomorrow, we've got that, Thursday, we've got this preview on Wednesday, watch along business on Wednesday. And later today with Matisse, folks, well, at 2 p.m., we'll be there, man. We'll be there. So all the links will be dropped in the chat right now. Please make sure you're checking out everything. It's been a fantastic live stream. We've had about 300 odd of you locked in. Hopefully it says 300 likes. I'm not naive enough to think it does, but I appreciate you lot, because the last week has been amazing, and I'm trying to have another great week in terms of engagement levels and all of those things once again, folks. So that's all the links that you need. Champions League, Europa League, general Arsenal comments, football in general. I've got you lot covered, man. I appreciate that. And I'll catch you lot in a bit, people, man. I do think this video will take you to, it will redirect you to another video. So please make sure you're hitting the like buttons on all of this sort of stuff. You lot are the reason the notifications, the engagement levels are going mad. Trust me, set them notifications. 301, we did what we could. I appreciate that. You lot never let me down. But for now, I'll catch you lot at 2 p.m. It's time to go grab a food. I'm out, people.